All right. So, welcome to the last technical talk of this year's conference. And after that, we're going to have a panel. This talk is very close to my heart because this is where we, as machine learning researchers or machine learning engineers, data scientists, data engineers, we work a lot with the data and the quantitative side, and we want to bridge and give actionable insights to our products to understand our users. And in this talk, Sophie, team lead of data and insights, and Diane, user researcher, both from Once Upon, will tell us about their work and how qualitative approaches complement data in real-world context. So with that, I'm gonna invite them on the stage to present.
All right. Thank you so much. I mean, that was the perfect introduction. It's done now, the talk. That was it. Now, I hope you got your caffeine and your sugar and you're ready. And I hope we are ready. But yeah, we are going to talk about how to combine analytics and user research. And it's also a topic that's very close to our hearts. We really believe that it is a match combining different disciplines. And you can deliver richer insights if you collaborate with some other roles. So we hope you get some inspiration. Whatever you work with, there might be an area that you can collaborate with on this. And maybe we start diving in and say what we're going to cover today. It's just going to be a brief intro about us, about Once Upon. We're going to get an intro to user research from Diane to get us all on the same page. And then we're going to talk about triangulation and what it is and why it matters even. Some examples about what different methods can bring to different questions. And finally, a real-life use case from our company. So with that said, a very quick intro. And perhaps not many of you have heard about Once Upon. It's a company founded far in the north. And it's a photo booking app. And the idea is to make photo booking very easy, very simple, and get a beautiful designed book with a simple, minimalistic layout, like you see here. Something that's important for me is also that it's a company caring about environmental and social issues, and we're also B Corp certified. Briefly about myself, I have a background in public health and in psychology. And maybe some of you think, psychology? Why? This is therapy talking. Not only. I think it's where data meets humans. It's data being extracted from humans, and it's data about humans. And it's something that I come back to again and again, and it's really influenced me in my work until today. And yeah, I was the first data role at Once Upon, and now I am head of data and insights, and we're a team of data engineers, a data analyst, and a user researcher. And this is by design. It's a team by design, having all those disciplines in one room, in one team. It was something that I strongly believed in. It was something that Diane believed in. And we really wanted to be close together to make collaboration as easy as possible. But that's enough about me. And I will give the word now to Diane, who's also going to lead us through most of the rest of the talk today.
Thank you, Sophie. Let's switch spots. My name is Diane. I have a background in information science and human-computer interaction. My key areas of expertise are qualitative research methods and user experience. At Once Upon, I'm the sole user researcher, which means that I carry out most of our user research efforts, which ranges from testing new designs with users and managing our customer surveys to conducting some larger scale studies into the preferences of our target audience. Let me tell you more about user research, because I guess not many of you are familiar with what it is, although I'm sure that you've heard the term before. User research at its core is research into users of digital products. It aims at understanding who these users are, what drives them, what challenges they face, and why they want to do what they want to do. And if you look at a user research book or manual, you'll find that analytics is often one of the tools at the disposal of a user researcher. Here in this presentation and in our team, analytics is on one side and user research is on the other. And analytics focuses on analyzing user behavior, and user research focuses on analyzing the user experience. And the user experience is everything that happens within a person when they are interacting with a digital product or thinking about interacting with a digital product. So with user experience, we go beyond behavior to look at the emotions and thoughts and perceptions and mental models of a person. What I wanted to say as well is that in user research, we use a broad range of different methods, both quantitative and qualitative. But because we are interested in understanding what goes in a person's mind and body, we use a lot of self-report methods. So methods where we ask people to tell us what they think and feel. And we also typically use smaller sample sizes. We can't talk to all users, so we have to select a few people that we hope are representative of our users to then make inferences about our target group or user group. This presentation is all about triangulation, which means combining different methods to investigate a problem space with the aim of getting a more complete and more accurate picture of the problem. So triangulation is based on acknowledging that each method has its limitations, and the aim is to leverage the strengths of different methods by bringing them together. And in this presentation, we want to highlight how we can combine analytics, behavioral data with user research, which gathers data about thoughts, intentions, experience in general. So the idea is to formulate well-rounded, well-grounded hypothesis about what is user behavior and what drives that behavior, to then experiment through A/B testing and truly learn what can drive sales, or let's say customer success, user success with a product, because that's our aim. We want, in our case, people to succeed in creating a photo book they love. And by leveraging analytics and user research, we can do that much more effectively than by using either one of them separately or individually. I was talking about how triangulation is about acknowledging limitations and leveraging strengths. So I wanted to go over some of the respective strengths and limitations of analytics and user research. Analytics is really good, or is made to gather data, objective data, so to speak, about user behavior. So users are not aware that they are being observed, or in a sense they know that they accept the cookies and everything, but they are not as influenced by the observers as they are in a test setting when conducting a user test, for example. So analytics is really good at observing and providing data on real life behavior of users. User research is not as good when doing that, because when we talk to people, we influence their behavior. There are ways to mitigate that, but it's at the cost of the quality of the data collected on behavior. I will give you an example later. Analytics is also great because it gives us information on a whole user base, while, as I was saying, in user research, we have to work with subgroups, samples of user groups or target groups. Analytics can be biased due to tracking limitations and the definition and availability of metrics. And user research can be biased by a whole range of issues, sample-related issues, but also self-reported related bias. And also, I wanted to mention another one that I've forgotten, but never mind. You have the key ones. Self-report metrics, as I said, people don't act in a test situation as they would in real life. They are not good at remembering their behavior, and also they might bias or change their responses to make them more socially acceptable. So all this creates bias in the data. But user research is really good at collecting data on why people do things and how they think, which is not something that analytics can provide. So by combining them, we can really get the best data about their behavior and the best data about what drives them and how they think and what they feel. In practice, what can triangulation look like? And we're going to address here 3 categories or areas of inquiry that are very common when working with digital products. First, identifying user needs and pain points. It's kind of maybe the first things we have to do when stepping into a role for a company, identifying pain points, identifying the issues in a user journey. Their analytics can be a really good starting point because it gives us information about user dropout, for example, or whether users spend a long time in a certain step. And it can give us cues as to where to start digging for issues. And once we have that, these areas for potential issues, we can use methods such as user testing or user interviews and focus groups to see and talk to users and see what happens at those stages of the user journey. What is happening? What are the users doing and saying? And we can connect behaviors to intentions and thoughts and emotions such as confusion and frustration. And the aim when we do this kind of user testing and those interviews and these focus groups is not to quantify issues, it's just to understand the range of issues that can occur. And then we can complement that with a survey, for example, to get some information about the size and the frequency of different issues. Typically at Once Upon, we have analytics, of course, that gives us information, and we'll talk more about that in our use case at the end. We also do some user testing, and we have done an on-site focus group not that long ago. And that focus group allowed us to identify some new issues that we had missed during user testing, because during that focus group, we weren't watching over participants' shoulders what they were doing. They had 20 minutes to test the app on their own, and that led to us discovering new issues that did not arise in test settings because people were not taking their book as seriously. And then we have our customer experience surveys, where we add those issues that we've identified as answer options when asking people about the pain points they had. And that allows us to see, what are the most frequent issues and what are the most frequent requests among our customers. And it allows us to prioritize issues and interventions. Very common as well is understanding the need to understand user behavior when working with a digital product. Again, analytics is precious here in providing us with information on the real life behavior of people. It gives us accurate data on what people do, which is great because people are not good at reporting that. And then based on that, we can complement that with user testing to really associate the behaviors with a real user journey, user experience with the person's thoughts and emotions. So for example, say that analytics tell us that people click on a button many times. If we don't have any other data, we might think that, oh, this is great. People are really engaging with the feature. And maybe when we test it, we realize that people are really frustrated. They don't want to be clicking on that button that many times. And then we have found an issue that was not obvious when looking at analytics. And that's why it's really important to do both things. And the last area of inquiry I wanted to talk about was measuring opinions and satisfaction. Here, analytics is not an appropriate tool because it doesn't tell us anything about what people think or feel. But we can still triangulate by using different self-report methods to ask people what they think. We can do interviews, for example. Again, it can be for example, interviews about what design elements people like to have in their books and why that's important to them, why they try to accomplish with them. And then we can also quantify those findings through a survey, asking people to select different design elements in the list, and then we can rank those different elements to understand, okay, what are the most common design elements that people use in their books? And now that I've talked about these more general examples, we want to tell you about a use case, something that we've done at our company. But Sophie, you're going to explain how it all started.
Yeah, how it started. The story begins with us launching in the US, but users were not converting well. And what we saw in analytics was that they came into the app, they installed, they signed up, they started the creation process, created an empty book, but then they left. The conversion rates were really from those stages of the creation process up to purchase much lower than for other markets. And of course, our first hunch was, must be marketing, because the product is working in Germany, Australia, Sweden, so it must be marketing. But the thing is that ad performance up until sign up was on par with other markets. It was the return on ad spend that was much lower. So we didn't get the same amount back in terms of investment. So that's where Diane came in because analytics was at a dead end. So we started a project. Hand over to you.
Yes, and so people came to me and they were like, we're losing those users in the US and we don't understand what's happening. And this started like this, the initial stage started, I think, early in 2023, and then we had a big project in 2024. So it's really something that took place kind of in the background over several months. The first thing I did before we really knew what we were going to do about that issue was to conduct some user tests, and conducted just a few user tests, but these user tests indicated that users were lacking some customization options. And when they realized, like they started the book, they liked the aesthetic of our books, but when they realized that they couldn't customize it, they just left it there. And based on those early findings, we then design a bigger mixed method study to look more into it. And that led us to first conduct a survey, a large-scale survey with photo book creators in the US, where we asked them, what design elements have you used in the books you've made? And that allowed us to identify some very popular design elements that we don't offer in our application. So then I carried out 10 to 12 interviews, I think it was 12 interviews with photo book creators in the US. And I asked them, how did you use these design elements? Why did you use them? Like, what was your intention? To understand better, like, why do people want and need those design elements? And then we conducted a follow-up survey where we asked people to tell us about their intentions for using these design elements. And we found, for example, that in the US, adding a playful vibe to their photo books is a very important goal and something that we might not be fulfilling at this stage. So that led us to today, where we're working on implementing additional background color options, additional fonts, and additional layouts as well. But some other user tests that were focused on the very beginning of the user journey also showed us something else. And it's that people were lacking inspiration, examples of our photo books, examples of all our customization options and all the different looks that they could give to their covers or their spreads. In most other photo book apps on the market, people start by choosing a template. So they have a very clear vision of their final book. But in our app, people were missing that, and they were also confused as to how our app was going to make it easy for them to create a book. So we realized that we needed to give them more examples of finished books with our application to really showcase the range of designs that are available in our app. And we also understood that we need to provide them with guidance. We need to tell them upfront, that's how we're going to make it easy for you, because what they are used to is not how our app works. We're a bit different. And so we need to guide the users a little bit more. And so these findings have led us to change course a bit. Being easy has always been our unique selling proposition, the core of our service. But we've come to realize that being simple doesn't necessarily mean, being easy doesn't necessarily mean being simple. And so we're really now exploring how we can add customizability and add images and inspiration to make our app even easier to use. And to help us find the right amount of customizability and inspiration, we're going to use experimentation and A/B testing. Now we have some very strong hypotheses about what is going to work for our users, and that will allow us to test those hypotheses in a very effective way. On the way, we've had to do some changes in the way we work. First, product teams have had to learn that, well, maybe instead of asking me to do a small-scale round of user tests, they have to go straight to an A/B test to get some good answers. And they also have had to collaborate a bit more closely with the data team to create the right metrics for the tests that they needed to make. So this has led to much closer collaboration between us, data and user research, but also between our team, data and insights, and the other teams in the organization. And that was it. We hope that this has inspired you to think about considering incorporating some user research in your work and in your organizations. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for a great presentation. So we have a few minutes for questions. I was wondering if anyone has any question.
Thanks for your presentation. I'm just wondering, like, how did you find out, like, your customers in US, they want more customization, like all their findings? How did you find out what type of user testing method you use?
Well, I conducted some very basic user tests as well. So remote user tests through a recruiting service. A lot of them are available right now. So I just had the user connect with me in a Google call, and then I had them download the app, share their screen, and start making a book. And already that, I mean, it's not perfect. As I've mentioned, people will not use great photos in their book. Like, they will really see it as a test and as a way to test features. So it's not a real life scenario, but it's effective at identifying some key wishes. Like, for instance, I just did that with 5 users to start with, and like 4 of them were talking about customization options and showing frustration at not finding them and wondering where they were, for instance. So that was the first step. And then the second step was this large-scale survey where we ask about design elements, and it made it clear for us that people use different fonts, use different colors, so we could then bring those two together. Thank you.
Hi, absolutely love the presentation. I'm a data analyst, so I'm training as a data analyst, and we use client data to learn. And the first client we had was almost the same scenario that we had to go through. So analyze the funnel and see where they drop off and find out why. What my team decided to do was we decided to look at why people were dropping off from a particular page and decided to go for like a survey. Although I'm a data analyst, that was what we went for. So it was more like user research. But we had this question in our group that if we were to count how many people had this problem, or there's how many people, so it still comes back to numbers, right? So it goes back to analytics. So do we go with that or not? That was a question. So my doubt is that, does it defeat the purpose of triangulation, or would you say it would be a good example of a triangulation? That's my question.
Maybe I start. I think it's a great question, and thank you so much for the kind words. The thing we believe in is that if you use one method and run with it, you're gonna get a worse result than if you use 2 methods. and combine them. So from what it sounds like, you looked at the analytics and then you did a survey. And of course, that is not the final answer, right? It goes round and round. You start the process again and again. But you get to a better point and understand the behavior, the user better and better, the more puzzle pieces you add with different methods.
Absolutely, I agree. I think it's a great start. Of course, you might be missing some important issues. That's the risk if you do a survey without doing some explorative, qualitative research first. But if you're aware of that, it still gives you something that you wouldn't have had by staying with only analytics. So I think it's a great start. And we also work with limited resources. So we do what we can with what we have and baby steps.
And maybe just one addition to that, something that we always do when we do a survey, we run a small pilot survey, open answered questions to get this first more screening type input. You plug from there and then you make your survey that's more quantitative.
There was one more question here.
Hi. When do you know, or how do you know when to stop using analytics and when to start using user research, and the other way? When do you know that we don't get the insight from the data, we need user input?
I feel like it comes very much down to what kind of question are we answering or trying to answer. Is it a what question, or how many? Is it a why question? So as soon as we go into this why, trying to understand, we need to pivot to a different method than analytics. But do you want to add something more?
I agree. I think like what is the question you want to answer is like your guiding star. And then I think you do know when you stop learning from a method, when you get stuck. And, at some point I'm like, I've done enough user testing, I'm not learning anything new. Or, okay, people are saying the same thing, I'm not learning anything new. We need to change. So often just that feeling of we're not learning anything new anymore, it means that you need to change method, which can be you have to change your questions, but yeah, or you need to experiment, but it's a sign that you need to change. So that's a good indication as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for the presentation and a good discussion.
Thank you so much.